Hey o loma, hey o loma, hey o loma, hey o play. Hey o loma, hey o loma, hey o loma, hey o play. Hey o loma, hey o loma, hey o loma, hey o play. Hey o loma, hey o loma, hey o loma, hey o play. Nila paleke nunta, le nawe Shawnee, le lawe Tecumseh. Said, my name is Soaring Eagle. I am Shawnee, and we belong to Tecumseh. As we begin our conversation tonight about the Shawnee, the people of the Southwind, we'll examine 5 questions. First of all, who are the Shawnee? Where did the Shawnee come from? What are the spiritual beliefs of the Shawnee? What are the customs and lifestyles of the Shawnee? And what is the state of Indian country today? So we'll begin with who are the Shawnee. Now, in order to begin to answer this question, or attempt to answer it, we must go back in time. And here's some background. There are various linguistic families of American Indian tribes. And the Shawnee are included in the Algonquin language of American Indians. And the Shawnee speak Shawanese, which is a dialect of Algonquin. And other tribes within our language group include the Miami, the Delaware, the Potawatomi, and the Winnebago, Cheyenne, Arapaho, and some others. The Shawnee are the southernmost of the Algonquin or Algonquin Indian tribes. Other language groups that you may be familiar with are the Iroquois, which includes Seneca, Cayuga, Mohawk, Mohegan, and others. And then, of course, the Cherokee are a little bit different. And then there are the desert Southwest tribes, including the Apache, Navajo, Yuchi, Pueblo, and others. And then some of the Plains tribes, as I said, Cheyenne, Arapaho, Sac and Fox, Blackfoot, they're all included among Algonquin tribal descendants. Sometimes Shawnee are referred to in India, in our Algonquin dialect, means southerner or the people of the south wind. People of the south wind. So where do they come from? Originally, the Shawnee were a great nation. They occupied the states of Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, and western Maryland, Kentucky, and most of Indiana. So, if you're wondering who were some of the original peoples in this area, the Shawnee were among them. And north of the Shawnee area were the Miami, the Delaware, and others. And our tribes are closely related. We attend each other's powwows and things like that. Recorded history in America, which is very incomplete, has bits and pieces of Shawnee history as early as the 16th century. Sir Walter Raleigh encountered the Shawnee in 1594 northwest of Roanoke, North Carolina, near the Shawnee River. And Captain John Smith records several times about the Shawnee in his History of Virginia. And he notes that the Shawnees were associated with the Massawamikis at the head of the Chesapeake Bay in as early as 1600. So some have traveled as far south as Mexico, all the way even to the Yucatan Peninsula, and then northward to Apalachiola prior to 1000 AD. If you ask American Indian people, where did you come from or how long have you been here? The answer will be, we've always been here. In the mid-1800s, a particular group of the Shawnee called the Kispakotha Band was led by a chief named Wapamepeto, which means gives light as he walks, commonly referred to as Big Jim. He led the people from Mexico northward to Texas, and today this band of Shawnee is known as the Absentee Shawnee. They're located in Shawnee, Oklahoma. Black Bob was the chief of the Hathawikalila band, which was located near Shawnee Mission, Kansas, and he refused to sign the removal treaties and was given rights to the lands of the Shawnee Reservation in 1808 by the United States government. Some of the tribe then was removed to Indian Territory in present-day Oklahoma. Some are included in our band. Other noted war chiefs include Blue Jacket, who signed a treaty of 1795 in Greenville, Ohio, and Treaty of Fort Industry, Ohio on July 4th, 1805, and died soon after that. And then a prominent chief that you've probably heard of or read about maybe is Tecumseh. Tecumseh refused to sign the treaty. And Tecumseh, his name means shooting star or sky panther. That's the name that his mother gave him at his birth. He was born in 1768 at the Shawnee village of Piqua on the Maud River near present-day Springfield, Ohio. His father was Punxsutawney. He was the war chief of the Shawnees. His mother's name was Methotassa. Her name means a turtle laying her eggs in the sand. And she was captured. She was actually Cherokee, captured in a raid when she was 15 years old. And they said she was very slim and attractive. And after the raid, the eldest warrior of the Shawnee adopted her as his daughter. A year later, she accepted Punxsutawney in marriage at the next feast dance in the spring of 1755. And the following summer, her first son, Chiksika, was born. 2 years later, a daughter, Tukampese, was born. And then she traveled with her husband toward Chalagotha for a grand council of the Shawnee where he would discuss plans on how to deal with the coming white settlers. And along the way, she gave birth to 2 twin sons 10 years after her last child was born. It was on a Wednesday, March 9th, 1768, Tecumseh and his twin brother were born. And his twin brother was Tenskwatawa, referred to as the prophet. He was the spiritual leader of the Shawnee, and both lived in Prophetstown in northern Indiana, north central Indiana. We'll talk about that later. He had a near-death experience and was conducted to the spirit world, and then he returned and he began preaching to the people that they need to let go of their modern ways and return to their old ways. Sounds like a familiar message, doesn't it? He spoke against witchcraft, magic, evil ways, and the fire water of the whites, and that people should return to their God. Tecumseh is noted for forming the greatest Indian confederacy in all of American history, which included the Miami, the Ottawa, Potawatomi, Kickapoo, Winnebago, and a host of other tribes. He traveled a great deal, was a very educated person, and a very accomplished orator, and met with government leaders in Washington, D.C., presidents of the United States at the time, and leaders of many tribes east of the Mississippi River. Last year I was invited to the dedication of a historic monument in Vincennes at the place where Tecumseh actually confronted William Henry Harrison. And so I was invited by the Historic Society there because I'm a descendant of Tecumseh, and to dedicate that, and the Daughters of the American Revolution and that group. It was kind of fun. All right, we'll see how many of you are Hoosiers. So you've had Indiana history, right? Here's a prominent day in Indiana history. We'll see who knows what this is. November 7th, 1811. What is it? Yeah, it's the Battle of Tippecanoe, right? And my Shawnee seal on my card that I carry, that is my enrollment date, November 7th, 1811, because me and my family, we're on the base row because we're direct descendants from Tecumseh. William Henry Harrison led his troops northward along the Wabash and Tippecanoe rivers. They set up an encampment near the Shawnee village of Prophetstown in north central Indiana near present-day Lafayette. And the Shawnees surrounded the camp in order to observe. And after about the third or fourth day, a couple of the young soldiers got nervous and trigger happy and started shooting Indians. Now, the Shawnee are noted as warriors. They never intended on starting a battle, but once engaged in the battle, they would fight to the end. That's just the way they are. When the War of 1812 broke out, Tecumseh led his troops to fight with the British, and he was given rank as Brigadier General in the British Army and commanded over 2,000 troops. He was killed in the Battle of the Thames River near Chatham, Ohio, which is actually, that particular area is really very close to the Canadian border on October 5th, 1813. Some historians even accredit Tecumseh as causing the War of 1812. Well, that's stretching it a bit. But interesting story about that is he seemed to know that his death was near. He just kind of felt like he was going to die, so he removed his general's uniform and put on his deerskin buckskins for that battle. Fell to death in front of his warriors and troops because American Indian general would never lead from behind or from a distance, but always lead right out front with the troops. And during the removal period, the Shawnees traveled the Trail of Tears. Some tribes, such as Potawatomi and others, refer to it as a Trail of Death. It's the same event. The Trail of Tears was a cumulative removals of American Indians from the eastern states, taking place beginning in 1830 officially, while Andrew Jackson was president, continued through 1855. The Shawnees began to leave Ohio in 1830. Their trek crossed through Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, and eventually into Indian Territory, present-day Oklahoma. And today, the tribal headquarters, if you will, are located near Miami, Oklahoma, in the extreme northeast corner of the state of Oklahoma. So what are the spiritual beliefs? Well, let me caution you about Hollywood. Hollywood knows a little about a lot of things, but really not much about anything, right? So anything that you get from Hollywood, take it for the entertainment value and leave it at that. The Shawnee believe in one God. In fact, all the American Indian tribes believe in one God. And the one God is referred to as Missy Manito, the Great Spirit Creator. Missy Manito is all good. All good. There is no evil with Manito. And the source of all evil then is Mochi Manito, which means the bad spirit. Now, the bad spirit, or the evil spirit, although seemingly powerful at times, is not nearly as powerful as the Great Spirit. Cannot even be compared. The Shawnee believe that human beings are really spirit beings. We're really spirit beings. And there are thousands of spirit beings living in Spimeke, which is heaven. And when we see the Milky Way, it reminds us of heaven and all the Shawnee babies waiting to be born. And family is extremely important to Shawnee. And when a person from another tribe or ethnicity marries a Shawnee, they are accepted into the tribe with gratitude and generosity. And they can, if they choose, be adopted into the tribe. Now here's a similarity with Judaism as far as adoption goes. In Judaism, if in the Hebrew Old Testament, that an adopted son can never, ever be unadopted or lose their birthright. They're given priority. And so it is with us, too. If we adopt somebody, they're giving that kind of treatment, if you will. Status. Marriage is important. But marriage must be based on love and nothing else.